My daughter's friend is Weirdo. That's what I thought the first time Cassidy brought Naya home from school. The girl stood in our doorway wearing mismatched socks, one hand clutching a plastic bag filled with dirt, the other holding a notebook covered in symbols I didn't recognize. "This is Nia," Cassidy announced. "She's going to help me with the science project." Nia didn't say hello. She walked past me, went straight to our backyard, and started collecting leaves, just plucking them off our maple tree with the intensity of a surgeon. "Is she okay?" I whispered to Cassidy. My daughter shrugged. "She's really smart, Mom. Like scary smart." Over the next few weeks, Nia became a fixture at our house. She'd arrive every Tuesday and Thursday, never knocking, just appearing at 3:47 p.m. exactly. She barely spoke. When she did, it was usually to correct something. "Your microwave is leaking radiation from the left seal," she said once while I was heating up leftovers. I laughed. She didn't. 3 days later, the microwave died. The repair guy confirmed the seal had failed on the left side. Then came the predictions. Small things at first. "It's going to rain at 4:12 tomorrow," she'd announce. It would. "Your husband's car needs new brake pads." It did. "The grocery store will be out of milk on Saturday." They were. I started keeping a list. In 2 months, Naya made 47 specific predictions. All of them came true. My husband thought it was coincidence. Cassidy thought it was cool. I thought it was impossible. Until the day Naya looked at me with those unsettling dark eyes and said, "You need to check your daughter's closet, behind the shoeboxes. Tonight." My stomach dropped. "Why?" "Just check," she said, then went back to her homework. That night, I found 14 bottles of pills behind the shoeboxes. Not prescriptions. Street drugs. Fentanyl. Enough to kill her 20 times over. Cassidy broke down immediately. She'd been buying them from a senior named Trevor, planning to sell them at school. She was in debt to him for $3,400. I called the police. They arrested Trevor that afternoon. The detective told me if Cassidy had started selling, she'd be facing felony charges. "Someone tipped us off about this kid 2 weeks ago," he said. "Anonymous call. Probably saved your daughter's life." I knew who made that call. The next Tuesday, Nia showed up at 3:47 p.m. exactly. I opened the door and just stared at her. "How did you know?" "Because I see patterns other people don't. And your daughter's pattern was heading somewhere bad." "What are you?" She smiled slightly. "Just observant." But that night, while putting away Cassidy's laundry, I found Nia's notebook. Inside were pages of calculations, probability matrices, behavioral predictions. But the last page made my blood run cold. It was a detailed timeline of my family going back 3 months. Every argument, every purchase, every decision, all mapped out with percentages. And at the bottom, circled in red, final intervention, November 17th, success probability, 94%. Today was November 17th. I heard footsteps. Nia appeared, her eyes fixed on the notebook in my hands. "You weren't supposed to see that yet." "What is this?" She took one step forward. "I don't just see patterns in data, I see patterns in people. And your family's pattern is about to intersect with something you can't handle alone." She pulled out her phone and showed me a photo. It was my husband, with someone I didn't recognize. Time-stamped from this morning. "Who is that?" "His name is Vincent. And he's not who your husband thinks he is." The photo showed my husband shaking hands with a man outside a coffee shop downtown. Vincent looked ordinary. Mid-40s, expensive suit, warm smile, nothing threatening. But Nia's expression told me everything I needed to know. "My husband meets with investors all the time," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "For his construction company. Vincent Holloway isn't an investor." Nia swiped to another photo. This one showed Vincent leaving what looked like a warehouse. 3 months ago, he approached your husband about a development deal, promised to triple his investment in 6 months. My hands went numb. "How do you know this?" "Because I've been tracking him." She pulled up a document on her phone, pages of research, financial records, court documents. "Vincent Holloway has done this 11 times in the past 7 years. He targets small business owners, gains their trust, gets them to invest everything they have. And then, the projects collapse. The investors lose everything. Vincent disappears with the money." She looked at me. "Your husband signed papers yesterday. He mortgaged your house without telling you." The room tilted. "That's not possible. We both have to sign for that." Nia handed me her phone. On the screen was a scanned document. Our mortgage refinancing papers. My signature at the bottom looked perfect. "But I'd never seen this document before in my life." "He forged it," Nia said quietly. "Vincent has a specialist who does this. Makes the paperwork look legitimate until it's too late." I sank onto the couch. My husband and I had been married for 16 years. We'd built our life together from nothing. The house was paid off last year. We'd celebrated with champagne and talked about finally taking that trip to Italy. Why would he do this without telling me? Because Vincent convinced him it's a sure thing, that he'd surprise you with the profit. Nia sat down next to me. "He's not trying to hurt you. He's trying to provide. Vincent is very good at reading people. He knew exactly what to promise." "How much?" My voice cracked. $340,000. The full equity in your house." I couldn't breathe. That was everything. Our retirement, Cassidy's college fund, the safety net we'd spent years building. Where is he now? "Meeting with Vincent. They're signing the final transfer documents." Nia checked her watch. "You have approximately 47 minutes before the money moves to an offshore account." I grabbed my keys. "We need to stop this." "We can't. Not legally. Your husband is willingly entering into a contract. By the time you prove the signature was forged, the money would be gone." She stood up. "But there's another way." "What?" "We let it happen, and we use it to expose Vincent." I stared at her. This 14-year-old girl was suggesting we let my husband lose everything. Are you insane? Vincent has destroyed 11 families. The FBI has been trying to catch him for 3 years, but he's too careful. Never leaves evidence. Never makes mistakes. Nia's eyes hardened. "Except this time, he doesn't know I'm watching." "Why do you care about this?" She was quiet for a long moment. Family number 7 was mine. My dad invested in one of Vincent's projects. Lost our house, our savings, everything. My parents divorced over it. Dad started drinking. 3 months later, he drove into a telephone pole. The police called it an accident. Nia, it wasn't an accident. I found the note he left. He couldn't live with what he'd done to us. She looked at me. I was 11. I've been tracking Vincent ever since, learning how he operates, waiting for the right moment. The calculation in her notebook suddenly made terrible sense. She hadn't just been tracking my family, she'd been preparing a trap. You used us as bait. I tried other approaches first. Anonymous tips, sending evidence to the FBI. Nothing stuck. He's too smart, too connected. Her voice remained steady. But if we do this right, we can catch him in the act. Document everything. Make sure he can't destroy another family. My phone buzzed. A text from my husband. Running late. Don't wait up for dinner. He had no idea what he'd just done. What's your plan? I asked. Nia opened her backpack and pulled out 3 small devices. Audio recorders. We plant them in Vincent's office. He'll meet with your husband there after the money transfers. He always does. Celebrates the deal, talks about future projects. That's when he gets sloppy. And then we have him admitting to fraud on tape, multiple times. With witnesses who can corroborate the pattern, she handed me a file folder. I've contacted the other families. 6 of them are willing to testify if we can provide proof. I opened the folder. Inside were photos of people I'd never met, but their faces all held the same expression, the hollowed-out look of people who'd lost everything. A woman named Thea, standing in front of what used to be her bakery, foreclosed. A man named Fletcher, holding his daughter. His wife had left after they lost their house. A couple named Iris and Donovan. Their statement described how they'd lost their restaurant and filed for bankruptcy. You've been planning this for 3 years, I said. I've been planning it since I was 11. Nia took the folder back. I just needed the right situation. Vincent is getting cocky. He's closing deals faster now, making mistakes. Like forging my signature. Exactly. He's done it before, but never documented it so sloppily. He thinks he's untouchable. She checked her watch again. We have 40 minutes. I need your help. Every instinct screamed at me to call my husband, to stop this before it was too late. But looking at those photos, at those destroyed lives, I knew Nia was right. This was bigger than our family. What do you need me to do? We drove to Vincent's office building in the financial district, a gleaming glass tower that screamed success. Nia had blueprints of the entire floor layout. She'd been preparing for this moment with the same intensity she brought to collecting leaves from our backyard. Vincent's office is on the 23rd floor, southeast corner. His assistant leaves at 5 p.m. exactly. Never stays late. Nia pointed to a maintenance elevator on the blueprints. We'll use the service entrance. I've already disabled the security cameras on that route. How did you? I've been coming here after school for 2 months. Observing patterns. Security rotates shifts every 4 hours. The maintenance crew takes a break at 4:45. We have a 12-minute window. We waited in the parking garage until exactly 4:44 p.m. Nia handed me a maintenance uniform she'd somehow acquired. It fit perfectly. You knew I'd agree to this, I said. 87% probability. She put on her own uniform. The other 13% involved you calling the police and ruining everything. We took the maintenance elevator to the 22nd floor, then used the stairs for the last flight. The hallway was empty. Nia moved with absolute certainty, like she'd walked this route 1,000 times. Vincent's office door was locked. Nia pulled out a key card. Where did you get that? Vincent's assistant gets coffee at the same place every morning. She leaves her purse at the table while she orders. I cloned her access card 3 weeks ago. The door clicked open. Vincent's office was exactly what I expected. Leather furniture, original art, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, everything designed to project wealth and power. Nia moved quickly, placing the first recorder behind a bookshelf. The second went under the conference table. The third she hid inside a decorative plant. These are voice-activated, she explained. They'll record everything and upload to a secure cloud server. Even if he finds them, we'll have the audio. My phone buzzed. Another text from my husband. Sorry, honey. This meeting is running long. Big things happening. Love you. My hands shook. He thought he was securing our future. Instead, he was signing away everything we had. We need to leave, Nia said. Security rotation changes in 4 minutes. We made it back to the parking garage with 30 seconds to spare. Nia checked her phone. Money transfer just processed. $340,000 moved to Vincent's holding company account. I felt sick. Now we wait, Nia said. Your husband will be at Vincent's office in approximately 15 minutes. Vincent will want to celebrate. That's when he'll talk. We sat in my car, Nia monitoring the audio feed on her laptop. At 5:23 p.m., we heard a door open. Kevin, come in, come in. Vincent's voice was warm, friendly. Congratulations on taking this step. You won't regret it. My husband laughed. He sounded happy, excited. I still can't believe the returns you're promising. 300% in 6 months? Conservative estimate. The last group I worked with saw 400%, but I like to underpromise and overdeliver. They talked about the development project. Luxury condos in an up-and-coming neighborhood. Vincent had detailed plans, architectural renderings, market analysis. It all sounded legitimate. When do we break ground? My husband asked. That's the beauty of this opportunity. We're not starting from scratch. The foundation's already laid. Previous investor had to pull out due to a family emergency. His loss is your gain. Nia typed notes on her laptop, flagging specific statements. You've done this before? My husband asked. Kevin, I've been in development for 20 years. This is my 14th major project. Vincent's voice dropped slightly. I'll be honest with you. I don't take on just anyone as a partner, but you remind me of myself at your age. Hungry. Willing to take calculated risks. I appreciate that. My wife, she's more cautious, which is why I haven't told her yet. I wanted to wait until the first returns came in. Smart move. Women worry. It's in their nature. Better to show her the results than try to explain the potential. Vincent chuckled. My ex-wife nearly killed me when I mortgaged our house for my first deal. But when I handed her a check for $1 million 6 months later, suddenly I was a genius. Nia's fingers flew across the keyboard, flagging timestamp after timestamp. This really is life-changing, my husband said. Cassidy starts college next year. This money means we can pay for everything outright. No loans. Absolutely. Your daughter's going to have opportunities most kids can dream of. Papers rustled. Now, there are some additional opportunities I want to discuss. If this goes as well as I expect, we might want to consider a second project. Same terms, bigger return. I'd be interested, but I don't have more equity to pull. We can structure it differently. Bring in other investors. You'd be the primary partner. Vincent's voice turned conspiratorial. Between you and me, I have 3 other interested parties, but I wanted to offer you first right of refusal. This was it. The secondary trap. Nia had mentioned this in her research. Vincent didn't just take people's money once. He convinced them to bring in friends, family, colleagues, expanding the web. I have a brother-in-law who might be interested, my husband said. My stomach dropped. He was talking about Cassidy's uncle, my sister's husband. They just refinanced their home too. Perfect. Have him call me. More papers rustling. Now, I need you to sign a few more documents. Standard partnership agreements. And there's a confidentiality clause. My investors prefer to keep their involvement private. Helps avoid complications. Makes sense. The confidentiality clause. That's how Vincent kept his victims silent. By the time they realized they'd been scammed, they'd already signed agreements preventing them from discussing the details. Nia was smiling now. A cold, calculating smile that didn't belong on a 14-year-old's face. Got him, she whispered. He just admitted to the previous investor pulling out. That's the Donovan case. Family emergency was him losing his house. The recording continued for another 30 minutes. Vincent walked my husband through paperwork, made promises, built dreams. The whole time my husband sounded happier than I'd heard him in years. Finally, they finished. Congratulations again, Kevin. You're going to be a very wealthy man. Thank you, Vincent. Really, this means everything. The door closed. Silence. Nia stopped the recording. We have enough. Multiple admissions, pattern evidence, references to previous victims. Now what? Now we contact the FBI. I've been in touch with Agent Brennan. She's been building a case against Vincent for 2 years. This is exactly what she needs. Agent Brennan arrived at our house at 8:47 p.m. She was younger than I expected, probably early 30s, with sharp eyes that reminded me of Nia. I've been waiting for this phone call for a long time, she said, setting up her laptop at our kitchen table. Nia's been feeding me information about Vincent for 18 months. But we couldn't move without concrete evidence. She listened to the recordings, made notes, asked questions. This is good, really good, but I need to be honest with you. Agent Brennan looked at me. Even with this evidence, recovery of funds is unlikely. Vincent moves money through shell corporations, offshore accounts. By the time we freeze assets, most of it's gone. So we'll lose everything anyway, probably. But we can prevent him from doing this to anyone else. And we might be able to negotiate a plea deal that includes restitution. She closed her laptop. Where's your husband now? Working late. He thinks he's preparing documents for the construction project. We need to bring him in, brief him on what's happening. I'll need his cooperation to make this case airtight. He's going to be devastated. Yes, but better devastated now than destroyed later when the project collapses and creditors come calling. My husband came home at 11:30 p.m., carrying Chinese takeout and wearing the biggest smile I'd seen in months. You're not going to believe what happened today. I know what happened. I know about Vincent. I know about the mortgage. His face went white. The takeout container slipped from his hands, scattering egg rolls across our kitchen floor. How did you... Sit down. Agent Brennan introduced herself. My husband's expression shifted from shock to confusion to horror as she explained who Vincent really was, what he'd done to other families, what was about to happen to ours. No, I met with lawyers. I saw the permits, the architectural plans. He pulled documents from his briefcase, spreading them across the table. This is real. The development is real. The permits are forged, Agent Brennan said gently. The architectural firm went out of business 2 years ago. Vincent buys their letterhead online. My husband's hand shook as he flipped through the paper, looking for something, anything, that would prove he hadn't just destroyed our lives. The site inspection. I was there last week. I saw the foundation. That's from a project that was abandoned in 2019. Vincent uses it as a prop, takes investors there, shows them progress, then claims delays. Agent Brennan pulled up photos on her laptop. This is that same site 6 months ago. Exact same state. No actual work happening. My husband stood up, walked to the sink, and vomited. Cassidy appeared in the doorway, woken by the noise. What's happening? Go back to bed, sweetheart, I said. No. She looked at her father. Dad, what did you do? The next 48 hours were a blur. Agent Brennan coordinated with the FBI's Financial Crimes Unit. They secured warrants, froze what accounts they could find, and prepared to raid Vincent's office. Nia sat with us through all of it, her notebook open, cross-referencing details. She'd spent 3 years preparing for this moment. At 14, she'd built a case that seasoned FBI agents called impressive. Why didn't you just go to the police from the beginning? My husband asked her. Why use my family? Nia didn't look up from her notes. I tried, filed reports, sent evidence. Nobody cared about a kid whose dad crashed his car. They wrote it off as grief, conspiracy theories. She finally met his eyes. I needed an active case. Someone Vincent was actively scamming. Otherwise, it's just old crimes with missing evidence. You could have warned me. Would you have believed me? A strange 14-year-old telling you your big investment opportunity is a scam? She tilted her head. You would have thought I was jealous. Or crazy, just like the adults thought when I tried to warn them about Cassidy's drug problem. She was right. I wouldn't have believed her either if I hadn't seen her track record myself. The FBI raided Vincent's office on November 19th at 6 a.m. They found exactly what Nia predicted. Files on 23 active investors, forged documents, accounts showing $4.7 million in recent deposits. Vincent was arrested at his home in the suburbs. His wife and 3 kids watched as agents led him away in handcuffs. Nia insisted on being there. She stood across the street watching through binoculars. His daughter is 11, she said quietly. Same age I was. Vincent's legal team was aggressive. They fought every charge, claiming the investments were legitimate business ventures that happened to fail. But the recording from his office, combined with testimony from 6 previous victims, built an overwhelming case. The prosecutor offered a plea deal: 15 years in federal prison, restitution of $1.2 million split among documented victims. Vincent took it. Agent Brennan called us with the news. Restitution will take years. You'll probably recover about 30 cents on the dollar. But it's something. 30 cents on the dollar meant we'd get back maybe $100,000 of the $340,000 we lost. We'd still have to sell the house, downsize dramatically. My husband's business would take years to recover. Cassidy's college fund was gone, but we wouldn't lose absolutely everything. The real reckoning happened at home. My husband couldn't look at me for weeks. He moved into the guest room, threw himself into work, barely spoke during meals. The guilt was eating him alive. I did this, he said one night, finally breaking. I destroyed our family because I wanted to be the hero, the provider, the man who could give you everything. You already gave me everything, I said. We had enough. I wanted more. For you. For Cassidy. I wanted to be more than just enough. That's what Vincent exploited. Not greed exactly. Just the human desire to provide, to be successful, to give your family advantages you never had. Cassidy handled it better than expected. Maybe because she'd already been through her own crisis with Trevor and the drugs. She got a part-time job at a bookstore, started researching scholarships, made plans to attend community college for 2 years before transferring. It's actually kind of a relief, she told me. Less pressure. I can figure out what I actually want instead of just picking the fanciest school. Nia continued coming over on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 3:47 p.m. exactly. But the dynamic had shifted. She wasn't just Cassidy's weird friend anymore. She was the girl who had saved us from complete destruction. Did you know this would happen? I asked her one afternoon, when you first came to our house. Did you already see the pattern? She was quiet for a long moment working on homework. I saw the possibility. Your husband's business was struggling. He was stressed about money. People in that state make bad decisions. Vincent targets people like that. So you did use us. I gave you a choice. I could have let the drug situation with Cassidy spiral. Let your husband lose everything without intervention. Let Vincent destroy another family and move on. She looked up from her textbook. Instead, I gave you the information you needed to make decisions. That's all I've ever done. You're 14. I stopped being 14 the day I found my dad's suicide note. Her voice remained steady, but something flickered in her eyes. Age is just a number. Experience is what matters, I wanted to argue. To tell her she deserved to be a kid. But looking at her, at the way she carried herself, I realized that ship had sailed years ago. What happens now? I asked. Vincent's in prison. You got justice for your dad. Vincent was one person. There are hundreds like him. Thousands. She turned a page in her notebook. I've identified 47 similar patterns across the state. Different names, same methods. Financial predators who target vulnerable people. You can't stop them all. No, but I can stop some of them. She smiled slightly, and I'm getting better at it. Over the next few months, Nia expanded her operation. She created a website where people could report suspicious investment opportunities. She developed algorithms to identify patterns in financial fraud. She even started working with Agent Brennan officially, as a consultant. At 14, she was doing work that most adults couldn't comprehend. Her mother called me once. I don't know what happened to my daughter. She used to be normal. Now she's obsessed with patterns and predictions and stopping bad people. She's trying to make sense of what happened to your family, I said. I know, but I worry she's losing herself in it. She doesn't have friends her own age, doesn't go to parties or football games, just works on her projects. Her voice cracked. I don't know how to bring her back. Maybe you can't. Maybe this is who she is now. The truth was, I didn't know if Nia could ever go back to being a normal kid. Trauma changes people. She'd channeled hers into something productive, something meaningful. But the cost was her childhood. Cassidy noticed it too. Nia's different from everyone else. Not just smart different, like fundamentally different. Does it bother you? Sometimes. She knows things about me that I never told her. Predicts things I'm going to do before I do them. Cassidy paused. But she saved my life, saved our family. So I figured the least I can do is be her friend. Even if she's using you to study human behavior patterns? Especially then. Someone that smart, that observant, that driven. She needs people around her who can keep her grounded. Otherwise, she'll turn into something scary. My daughter was wiser than I'd given her credit for. We sold our house in March. Moved into a smaller place across town. It hurt watching strangers walk through rooms where we'd celebrated birthdays, Christmases, graduations. But it could have been worse. We could have lost everything. My husband's business stabilized. He took on a partner, someone who could share the financial burden. He started seeing a therapist who specialized in shame and rebuilding after financial loss. I'm never making another decision without telling you first, he promised. I know. I mean it. Never again. I believe you. And I did. Some lessons you only learn by losing everything. On the 1-year anniversary of Vincent's arrest, Nia showed up at our new house at 3:47 p.m., carrying a folder. I wanted to show you something, she said. Inside were news clippings. 6 more financial predators arrested across 3 states, all following similar patterns to Vincent, all caught because of information Nia had provided to law enforcement. You did this? Agent Brennan did the actual work, but I identified the patterns, connected the cases, provided evidence. She sat down at our kitchen table. Vincent's daughter reached out to me last month. She found my website. My heart stopped. What did she want? To understand what her father did, why he did it, how many people he hurt. Nia's expression softened slightly. She's 12 now, same age I was when I started this. You didn't? I told her the truth, all of it, including what it cost her father's victims, what it cost my family, what it cost me. She opened her notebook. Then I asked if she wanted to help make sure other kids don't lose their parents to prison or suicide or shame. She's 12. I was 11. Nia showed me her notebook. Inside were 2 sets of handwriting, hers, precise and analytical, and someone else's, rounder and less confident. She's good at pattern recognition, better than most adults. She just needs direction. You're recruiting her. I'm giving her a choice. She can spend the rest of her childhood being Vincent's daughter, dealing with the shame and anger and confusion, or she can be someone who prevents other families from being destroyed the same way hers was. I thought about what Cassidy had said, about Nia needing people to keep her grounded. Does she know what this will cost her? I told her everything, including how it feels to stop being a normal kid, to see patterns everywhere, to carry the weight of all these cases. Nia closed her notebook. She said she's already not normal. Might as well make it count for something. There was a brutal logic to it, a kind of terrible sense. What about you? I asked. When do you get to stop carrying this weight? When there are no more Vincents. She smiled slightly. So never. But that's okay. This is what I'm good at. Cassidy came home from her bookstore shift and found us at the table. Still plotting to save the world? Someone has to, Nia said. Yeah, but does it have to be you? Who else would do it? It was a fair question. Without Nia, Vincent would still be scamming families. The other 6 predators would still be operating. How many lives had she saved with her obsessive pattern tracking? But at what cost to herself? That night, after Nia left at 6:32 p.m., she still kept to precise schedules. Cassidy asked me something I'd been avoiding. Do you think Nia's okay? Like, mentally okay? I don't know. She talks about patterns like other people talk about friends. She doesn't sleep much. She's always working on her next case. Cassidy twisted her hands together. I looked up savant syndrome, people who are exceptionally gifted in one area but struggle with normal social stuff. I think that's what she has. Or she's traumatized and brilliant and using both to create something meaningful. Can it be both? It probably was both. The doorbell rang at 10:15 p.m. Unusual. We weren't expecting anyone. I opened it to find Nia standing there, her clothes soaked from rain I hadn't noticed starting. I need help, she said. It was the first time she'd ever asked for anything. I pulled her inside, got her dry clothes, made her tea. She sat at our table shaking, not from cold, from something else. What happened? I made a mistake, a bad one. Her voice cracked. I was tracking a new case. Investment scheme targeting elderly people. I found the pattern, identified the perpetrator, gathered evidence. And I gave the information to a journalist instead of going through proper channels. I wanted to move faster, expose him before he could hurt more people. She looked up at me with wet eyes. He killed himself, left a note blaming me for destroying his life. His wife is suing me for defamation. His lawyer says I'm a vigilante who ruins people based on circumstantial evidence. My stomach dropped. Was he guilty? I thought so. The patterns matched perfectly. But now I'm second-guessing everything. What if I was wrong? What if I destroyed an innocent man's life? This was what I'd been afraid of. Nia operating with such certainty, such conviction, never considering the possibility of error. You need to stop, I said. I can't. You're 14. This isn't your responsibility. Then whose is it? She slammed her hand on the table. The police don't have time. The FBI is underfunded. Journalists are overworked. Someone has to do this. Not you. Not like this. Not at the cost of your childhood, your mental health, My dad is dead because nobody did this. My family fell apart because nobody was paying attention. Her voice rose. I pay attention. I see things other people miss. And yes, sometimes I make mistakes. But doing nothing is also a choice. And that choice has consequences too. Cassidy appeared in the doorway. What's going on? Nia thinks she might have destroyed an innocent man's life, I said. Did you? Cassidy asked her friend directly. I don't know anymore. I was so sure. But now, Nia's hands shook. What if I'm not as good at this as I thought? What if my patterns are just coincidences I've convinced myself matter? Show me the evidence, Cassidy said. What? You heard me. Show me what you found. Let's go through it together. For the next 3 hours, we sat at that table going through Nia's research. Bank records, transaction patterns, victim testimonies. Cassidy asked questions, challenged assumptions, forced Nia to explain every connection. By 1:30 a.m., the picture was clear. He was guilty, Cassidy said. Maybe not of everything you thought, but definitely of defrauding these people. The patterns don't lie. Then why did he kill himself? Because he was caught. Because he was facing consequences. Because he chose that instead of accountability. Cassidy looked at her friend. That's not on you. You didn't kill him. You exposed him. What he did after that was his choice. Nia started crying then. Real, deep sobs that seemed to come from somewhere she'd kept locked away for years. Cassidy held her while she broke down, whispering that it was okay, that she'd done the right thing, that she couldn't carry responsibility for other people's choices. I called Nia's mother. She arrived within 20 minutes, clearly terrified by my late-night call. When she saw her daughter crying, she sank to her knees. Baby, I'm so sorry. I've been so focused on my own pain. I didn't see yours. I killed someone. Nia sobbed. No, you didn't. You exposed someone who was hurting people. That's different. But I wondered if Naya would ever believe that. The lawsuit was eventually dropped. The journalist who published the story confirmed their own independent investigation had verified Nia's findings. The man had scammed 34 elderly people out of their retirement savings. But something in Nia had broken that night. She still came to our house on Tuesdays and Thursdays, still tracked patterns, still worked with Agent Brennan, but the absolute certainty was gone. She second-guessed herself now, triple-checked evidence, questioned her own observations. Is this better or worse? Cassidy asked me one day. I don't know. She's more careful, but she's also more haunted. Maybe that's what happens when you grow up. You stop being certain about everything. Maybe. Or maybe some people were never meant to carry the weight Nia had taken on. 2 years passed. Cassidy graduated high school with honors, got into the state university on a combination of scholarships and financial aid. My husband's business recovered. We'd never be wealthy, but we were stable. Nia turned 16. She'd created a nonprofit organization focused on identifying and reporting financial fraud. She had a team of volunteers, including Vincent's daughter, who proved to have a gift for data analysis. She'd helped take down 23 scammers and recovered over $8 million for victims, but she still didn't have any real friends besides Cassidy. Still arrived places at exact time, still saw patterns everywhere. Does it ever stop? She asked me once. Seeing the world as data to be analyzed? I don't know. Does it need to? I want to be normal sometimes. To not calculate probabilities of every conversation, to not predict how people will react before they do it. Then be normal, take a day off, go to a movie, eat ice cream, be a teenager. She tried. She really did. Went to a school dance, made small talk with classmates, pretended to care about who was dating whom. But halfway through the evening, she called me to pick her up. I can't do it, she said in the car. I watched couples dancing and all I could see were patterns. Who would break up within a month based on body language? Who was cheating based on phone checking frequency? I can't unsee it. Then don't. Be who you are. Who am I? It was the first time she'd asked that question. Maybe the first time she'd let herself wonder. You're someone who sees truth when others see surface. Someone who won't look away from problems just because they're hard. Someone who's been hurt and chose to prevent others from being hurt the same way. I pulled into her driveway. And yeah, you're different. Maybe you'll always be different. But different isn't wrong. She sat there for a long moment. My therapist says I need to process my dad's death. Stop trying to save the world as a substitute for saving him. What do you think? I think saving the world is easier than dealing with the fact that I couldn't save him, that I was just a kid and it wasn't my responsibility and I had no power to change what happened. She looked at me. But if I stop trying to save the world, what am I? A 16-year-old girl who deserves to have a life. But what if this is my life? What if this is what I'm meant to do? I didn't have an answer for that. Cassidy came home for Thanksgiving during her sophomore year. She'd changed majors 3 times, finally settling on social work. I want to help people, she explained. But not like Nia. I want to help them process trauma, not prevent it. Is she still coming over? Cassidy asked. Not as much. She's busy with her nonprofit. And you're not here to be her anchor. I worry about her. Me too. But Nia seemed to be finding her own way. She'd started dating someone, a quiet boy from her calculus class who didn't mind that she saw patterns everywhere. She was sleeping better, according to her mother. Actually going to therapy and working through her dad's death instead of just channeling everything into her crusade. Then Vincent got released early for good behavior. Nia called me at 2 a.m. I could hear the panic in her voice. He's out. Vincent's out. They let him out after 7 years instead of 15. Are you safe? It's not about me being safe. It's about him being out there, free to do it again. He's on probation, monitored. One wrong move and he goes back. You don't understand. People like Vincent don't stop. They can't. It's who they are. I wanted to tell her she was wrong, that people could change. But I'd seen the recording of Vincent in his office, the way he'd manipulated my husband so effortlessly. Some people were wired to exploit others. What are you going to do? Watch him. Document everything. If he violates probation, I'll make sure he goes back. Nia, you can't spend your life following Vincent around. Why not? You spent your life raising Cassidy. My dad spent his life building a business. People dedicate themselves to things all the time. Those are different. How? Because they were healthier, more normal, not fueled by trauma and obsession. But saying that felt cruel. Just be careful, I said instead. Nia tracked Vincent for 3 months, documented his movements, his contacts, his activities. He got a job as a financial consultant, started dating a woman who owned a small business. He's doing it again, Nia told me. I can see the pattern. He's gaining her trust, learning about her finances. Give it another month and he'll be pitching her an investment opportunity, then report it to his probation officer. Based on what? He's allowed to have a job, allowed to date. I can't prove intent. Then there's nothing you can do. There's always something you can do. That's what scared me. I should have seen what was coming, should have recognized the shift in Nia's behavior, the way she stopped coming to our house, stopped answering calls, became fixated on Vincent to the exclusion of everything else. Cassidy noticed it first. She's spiraling. I tried to talk to her and she just rattled off statistics about recidivism rates and pattern persistence. Should we stage an intervention? With Nia, she'd calculate the probability of success and tell us we're wasting our time. We tried anyway. Showed up at her house with her mother, her boyfriend, Agent Brennan, sat her down and told her she needed to step back from the Vincent situation. Nia listened patiently, then pulled out her laptop and showed us everything she'd found. He's already meeting with his girlfriend's business partner, already talking about development opportunities, already showing the same red flags as 3 years ago. She looked at each of us. I can stop this before it starts, before another family is destroyed. Or you can live your life, her mother pleaded. Go to college, build a career, be happy. This is my career. This is what I'm good at. You're 17. You don't have to decide your entire life right now. My dad was 39 when he decided to drive into that telephone pole. How much time did he have? Nia's voice remained calm, analytical. Every moment we waste arguing is a moment Vincent uses to manipulate his next victim, so either help me stop him or get out of my way. We all looked at Agent Brennan. She was the professional. She could order Nia to back off. Instead, she said, "Show me what you have." 2 weeks later, they arrested Vincent for probation violation. He'd forged documents to secure a business loan, using the same methods as before. Nia had caught it, documented it, provided evidence. He went back to prison. This time, no early release. This time, the full sentence. Nia should have been triumphant, vindicated. Instead, she seemed hollow. "It doesn't bring him back," she said when I asked how she felt. "My dad's still dead. All those families are still broken. Vincent going to prison doesn't undo any of it. Then why do this? Because it's all I know how to do." She graduated high school at 17, skipping her senior year. Got into MIT's mathematics program with a full scholarship. Her nonprofit continued operating, now with a paid staff of 6 people, all focused on identifying financial predators. At her graduation party, which she insisted we keep small, I gave her a gift, a journal with a lock, like the one Robert had given me years ago. What's this for? For thoughts that aren't about patterns or predictions or saving the world, for being 17, for being human. She looked at it like it was a foreign object. I don't know what I'd write in here. Then maybe that's something to figure out. I don't know if she ever used it. We stayed in touch, but less frequently. She called on anniversaries. The day Vincent was arrested, the day her dad died, the day she first came to our house. Mechanical check-ins, making sure we were okay. Cassidy saw her occasionally when they were both home for holidays. "She's gotten weirder," Cassidy reported. "Like she's forgotten how to have normal conversations. Everything's about data and patterns and statistical probabilities. Is she happy? I don't think she knows how to be happy. She knows how to be useful. It's not the same thing." I thought about that conversation a lot over the years, about the cost of Nia's gift, about whether we'd done right by her, letting her channel her trauma into this obsessive crusade instead of forcing her to just be a kid. 10 years after Vincent's first arrest, Nia's nonprofit had become a national organization. They'd helped prosecute 187 financial predators and recovered over $40 million for victims. She'd been featured in Forbes, testified before Congress, advised the FBI on predictive algorithms for fraud detection. At 27, she was exactly what she'd set out to be. A pattern-seeing machine dedicated to preventing the kind of tragedy that had destroyed her family. But she lived alone, had no close relationships, worked 80-hour weeks, rarely smiled. Cassidy invited her to her wedding. Nia sent a card and a generous check but didn't attend. She said she's working on a big case, can't take time off. "There's always a big case," I said. "I know. My husband retired at 63. We traveled, saw places we'd talked about for decades, had grandchildren, built a life that was smaller than we'd once planned, but richer than we'd feared after the Vincent disaster." I thought about Nia often, wondered if she ever regretted the path she'd chosen, if she looked at our ordinary, happy life and felt envy, or if she was genuinely content with her mission. On the 20th anniversary of her father's death, Nia called me. It was the first time she'd initiated contact in over a year. "I need to tell you something," she said. "Okay." I found my dad's pattern. Before he died, I was analyzing old family data for a project, and I saw it. The behavioral changes, the financial stress, the warning signs. Her voice cracked. I could have predicted what he was going to do, if I'd been looking, if I'd known what to look for. "You were 11. I know. Logically, I know. But I can't stop thinking, what if I'd been just a little smarter, just a little more observant? Could I have saved him?" This was the wound at the center of everything, the question she'd been running from for 20 years. "You couldn't have saved him, Nia. You were a child. But I'm not a child anymore. And I still can't save everyone." Vincent's daughter tried to kill herself last month. My best analyst burned out and quit. 3 of the cases we built fell apart because I miscalculated key variables. She was crying now, actually crying. "What if I'm not actually good at this? What if I've been wrong all along?" "Come visit," I said. "Come stay with us for a week. Take a break." "I can't. There are 14 active cases that they can wait." "You can't." She showed up 2 days later, looking like she hadn't slept in weeks. Cassidy came over with her kids. We made dinner, told stories, played board games, normal family things. Nia watched it all with those analytical eyes, but something was different. She was really seeing it, not just calculating patterns and probabilities, actually experiencing it. "Is this what it's like?" she asked me late that night. "Having a normal life? This is what it's like having a life. I don't know about normal. I don't think I can do this, the whole family thing. I don't know how. You don't have to, but you could try having friends, hobbies, moments that aren't about saving the world. What if I'm only valuable because of what I do? What if without the mission, I'm just a weird girl who sees patterns? Then you're a weird girl who sees patterns, and that's okay too." She stayed for 5 days, played with Cassidy's kids, went to the movies, ate ice cream, tried being 27 instead of being the guardian of financial justice. On the last day, she asked if I still had that journal I'd given her. "It's in your room, where you left it." She retrieved it, still in its original wrapping, unopened for 10 years. "I think I'm ready to use it now." "Yeah? Yeah. I need to figure out who I am beyond this, beyond the patterns and the mission and the crusade." She clutched the journal. "I don't know if I can, but I need to try." I hugged her. This brilliant, damaged, extraordinary person who'd saved my family and countless others while sacrificing her own childhood. "You're going to be okay," I said. "How do you know?" "Pattern recognition. I've been watching you for 13 years. I see who you are beneath all the armor. She laughed. Actually laughed. You can't beat me at my own game. Watch me. Naya went back to her work, her nonprofit, her mission. But something had shifted. She hired a therapist who specialized in gifted individuals and trauma, started setting boundaries on work hours, took weekends off occasionally. It wasn't a dramatic transformation. She was still Nia, analytical, pattern-obsessed, driven to prevent harm, but she was also learning to be human, to have moments that weren't about data or predictions or saving the world. Cassidy told me she'd started dating someone, another mathematician who understood her brain and didn't need her to be normal. Is she happy? I asked. I think she's learning how to be. That's something. That was everything. 23 years after Nia first walked into our house with mismatched socks and a bag of dirt, she called with news. I'm stepping down from the nonprofit, staying on as an advisor, but someone else is taking over day-to-day operations. Why? Because I've spent my entire adult life trying to prevent what happened to my family from happening to others. And I need to acknowledge that I can't save everyone. I can't predict every disaster. I can't carry all of this forever. What will you do? I don't know. Maybe teach, maybe research, maybe just exist without constantly analyzing existence. She paused. I'm scared. This mission has been my identity for so long. Without it, I don't know who I am. Then I guess you get to find out. She laughed, that rare, genuine sound. You know what's funny? I can predict almost anything except my own future. All my models, all my patterns, they break down when I try to apply them to myself. Maybe that's the point. Maybe you're not supposed to predict your own life. Just live it. That sounds terrifying. It is. But it's also kind of wonderful. I don't know how Nia's story ends. She's 37 now, still brilliant, still seeing patterns everywhere. But she also has friends, relationships, hobbies. She journals. She takes vacations. She exists as more than just a pattern recognition machine. Sometimes I think about that 14-year-old girl who appeared at our door with perfect predictions and notebooks full of calculations, who saved my daughter from a drug conviction, who saved our family from financial ruin, who dedicated her entire adolescence to preventing the kind of tragedy that had destroyed her own childhood. And I wonder what her life might have been like if she'd been allowed to just be a kid. If her dad hadn't died, if Vincent had never existed, if trauma hadn't forged her into something brilliant and broken. But then I think about the 187 families who didn't lose everything because of her work, the patterns she identified, the predators she stopped, the lives she saved. And I realize maybe she was never meant to be ordinary. Maybe some people are born to see patterns the rest of us miss, to carry weight most of us couldn't handle, to sacrifice their own normal for something larger. Cassidy still calls her on Tuesdays and Thursdays, old habit from when Nia used to show up at exactly 3:47 p.m. She's doing okay, Cassidy tells me. Better than okay. She's actually figuring out how to be happy. Good. She asked about you. Wanted to know if you still thought she was weird. What did you tell her? That you never thought she was weird. Just extraordinary. And that's the truth. Nia was never weird. She was a child genius shaped by tragedy, who chose to channel her pain into preventing others from experiencing the same. She was a girl who saw patterns in chaos and used that gift to save people, even at tremendous cost to herself. She was, simply, extraordinary. My husband passed away last year. Heart attack, sudden and unexpected. At the funeral, Nia showed up. First time I'd seen her in person in over a year. She didn't say much, just sat beside me, held my hand, and let me cry. Afterward, she said, I ran the patterns, his health data, lifestyle factors, genetic markers. I should have seen this coming. No, you shouldn't have. Some things aren't patterns. Some things are just life. I know. Logically, I know. But you're still you, still trying to make sense of chaos by finding order. I squeezed her hand. And that's okay, but you can't predict everything. Sometimes you just have to feel it. She cried then. We both did. For my husband, for her dad, for all the things we couldn't prevent no matter how smart we were or how many patterns we saw. Thank you, she said finally. For what? For letting me be weird. For not trying to fix me or make me normal. For just accepting that this is who I am. You saved my family, Nia. The least I could do was not try to change you. Still, thank you. We stayed in touch after that. Regular calls, occasional visits. She brought her partner around, a quiet woman who worked in data science and understood Nia's need to see patterns in everything. Are you happy? I asked her during one visit. She thought about it for a long moment. I'm content. I've learned to live with who I am, to use my abilities without letting them consume me, to have relationships even though I can predict how they'll likely end, to be extraordinary and human at the same time. That sounds exhausting. It is, but it's also my life. And for the first time, I'm actually living it instead of just analyzing it. That was more than I'd ever hoped for her. Cassidy's daughter turned 14 last month. Sharp, observant, sees patterns her classmates miss. She reminds me of Nia, Cassidy told me. Should I be worried? Only if she starts showing up places at exact times carrying notebooks full of calculations. She does carry notebooks everywhere. Then yes, maybe be a little worried. We laughed about it. But I thought about Nia, about the path trauma and brilliance had set her on, about whether Cassidy's daughter might follow a similar trajectory. I hope not. I hope she gets to be ordinary, to see patterns but not be consumed by them, to be smart without being burdened. But if she does turn out like Nia, I hope she finds people who will let her be extraordinary without trying to make her normal, who will support her mission while making sure she doesn't lose herself in it, who will remind her that being human is just as important as being brilliant, because that's what Nia taught me, that the weird kids, the different ones, the ones who see what others miss, they need us to accept them as they are while also making sure they don't sacrifice everything in pursuit of their vision. It's a delicate balance, one I'm not sure we always got right with Nia, but we tried, and she survived, and that's something. 25 years after a strange girl with mismatched socks first walked into our house, I got a package in the mail. Inside was a journal, the one I'd given Nia all those years ago. It was filled now, cover to cover, not with patterns or predictions or case notes, with thoughts, feelings, moments of being human instead of being a pattern recognition machine. There was a note attached. Thank you for teaching me that I could be both extraordinary and ordinary, that I could save the world and still have a life. That being weird wasn't wrong. I'm finally learning to believe it. Naya. I cried reading it. All those years, all that worry, all the fear that we'd somehow failed her by not forcing her to be normal. But we hadn't failed. We'd just been patient while she figured out how to be herself. And in the end, that was enough. Cassidy came over that afternoon and I showed her the journal. She read through it, tears streaming down her face. She's okay, Cassidy whispered. She's actually okay. Yeah, she is. Do you ever wonder what would have happened if she'd never come to our house? If we'd never met her? All the time. Would we have survived the Vincent thing? Probably not. We'd have lost everything. Cassidy might have ended up in jail. Our family would have imploded. So she saved us. Yeah, she did. But who saved her? That was the question, wasn't it? Nia had spent her entire adolescence saving others. But who had saved her? Maybe no one. Maybe she'd had to save herself. Or maybe we all saved each other in small ways. I gave her acceptance. Cassidy gave her friendship. Her mother gave her unconditional love even when she didn't understand. Her therapist gave her tools. Her partner gave her companionship. Maybe salvation isn't one big moment. Maybe it's 1,000 small moments of connection, understanding, acceptance. Maybe Nia saved herself by letting us help her, by finally accepting that she didn't have to carry everything alone. I called her that night. I got your journal. I know. I had tracking on the package. Of course she did. Thank you for sharing it with me. Thank you for everything, for not trying to fix me, for not thinking I was broken just because I was different. You were never broken, Nia. Just hurt. There's a difference. I know that now. It took me 25 years, but I know it. We talked for an hour. About her work, her life, her plans. She sounded lighter, like the weight she'd been carrying since she was 11 had finally shifted enough that she could breathe. I'm writing a book, she said, about pattern recognition and human behavior, but also about trauma and healing and learning to be human despite everything. Will you talk about us? About what happened with Vincent? Only if you're okay with it. I changed names, details, but the core story, yeah, it's there. Because it's part of my story. Part of how I learned that being extraordinary doesn't mean you can't be wrong. That seeing patterns doesn't mean you can predict everything. That saving others starts with saving yourself. I'm okay with it. If it helps someone else, I'm okay with it. It will. At least, the patterns suggest it will. We both laughed. Some things never change. Nia would always see patterns, would always analyze, would always try to make sense of chaos. But now she could also just be, could exist without constantly trying to predict and prevent and protect. And that, more than anything, was what I'd hoped for her all along. Cassidy's daughter asked about Nia recently, wanted to know what she was like as a teenager. She was different, I said. Brilliant and damaged and trying to save the world while forgetting to save herself. But she's okay now? Yeah, she figured it out eventually. How long did it take? About 25 years. That's a long time. Some things take a long time. Healing, growing, learning to be human. You can't rush it. Is she still trying to save the world? In her own way. But now she also knows how to save herself. That's the lesson Nia taught me. That you can be extraordinary and still need saving. That brilliance doesn't protect you from pain. That seeing patterns doesn't mean you have all the answers. And that sometimes, the weird kids with their notebooks and mismatched socks and unsettling predictions are exactly who we need in our lives. Not because they're perfect, but because they're willing to carry weight the rest of us can't. To see dangers we'd miss. To sacrifice their own normal for something larger. As long as we remind them they're still human. Still deserving of love and connection and moments of ordinary joy. Nia came to visit last month. We sat in my backyard, the same one where she'd collected leaves with surgical precision 27 years ago. Do you ever think about that first day, I asked, when Cassidy brought you home? All the time. I was so sure of everything back then. Every prediction, every pattern, every intervention. She smiled. I had no idea how little I actually knew. You saved us anyway. I got lucky. The patterns held, but they could have just as easily been wrong. I could have destroyed your family instead of saving it. But you didn't. No, I didn't. But not because I was infallible. Because I was willing to act on imperfect information, to take risks, to believe my observations even when I couldn't prove them. She looked at me. That's what I teach my students now. That pattern recognition isn't about being right all the time. It's about being willing to be wrong while still trying to help. Your students are lucky to have you. I'm lucky to have them. They keep me honest, keep me human, remind me that brilliance without humility is just arrogance. We sat in comfortable silence, watching birds in the maple tree, the same tree she'd collected leaves from all those years ago. I'm proud of you, I said finally. For what? For becoming someone who can sit quietly in a backyard without analyzing bird flight patterns or calculating optimal nesting locations. She laughed. Oh, I'm definitely still doing that. I just don't talk about it as much. That's growth. That's therapy. We both smiled. Some things never change. Nia would always be Nia. Brilliant, analytical, pattern-obsessed. But she'd also learned to be more, to have relationships, to experience joy, to accept that she didn't have to save everyone to matter. And that was enough. More than enough. It was everything.